Vice President of Irreverent Warriors. Very thankful to have you both on at the same time. Cindy, National Guard veteran in your own right, but you're a military spouse, widow as well. The second part of VA's motto calls on us to care for the widows and the orphans of those that have borne the battle. My predecessor interviewed Bonnie Carroll from TAPS within like the first 100 episodes of Borne the Battle.
She's amazing.
She is a very, she's a very well documented widow of a veteran who died in a military accident, and it was the impetus behind her starting TAPS, and Transition Assistance Program for Survivors has done so much for military surviving spouses and sons and daughters of the fallen service members. I say all that to say this. Sometimes to tell the service member story, the only way is to talk to their spouse. So please tell me the story of how you became so ingrained in this community.
Well, it started out with Rand and I met in the gym, and he was just an amazing, bigger than life guy, very driven, very like I said, just bigger than life. He everybody knew who Rand McNally was. And we had an amazing family. We had 3 kids, and but Rand was tormented. He had his demons that he struggled with for years and years. We tried everything, family counseling, one-on-one counseling, his counseling, my counseling. We tried it all, medication, and he just wasn't able to overcome his demons here. And so it was in 2007 that he ended that torment with a single gunshot wound to the head. And well, I guess you couldn't do more than that.
Yeah,
you can, but you're a bad shot.
Yeah, he was a good shot.
That's Irreverent Warriors, man. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, but Stephanie, my daughter, was downrange at the time. She was active duty, and my other 2 kids were at the house. And the unfortunate thing is that happened. No, he was somewhere else. And the unfortunate thing is that he didn't take his demons with him. He left them behind for my kids, and we've been struggling ever since.
Sorry to hear that. So your husband Rand was a Marine Corps veteran, correct?
Yeah, he graduated in the Naval Academy class of 76, went to BUD/S, washed out, and was in the hospital when the Marine Corps liaison came in, and the Navy wouldn't let him fly fighters, so which is why he went to BUD/S. But the Marine Corps came in and said they'd let him fly fighters, so he switched from Navy to Marine Corps right there.
I got a job for you. It's like, they're like, get up, let's go. Outstanding. That sounds very Marine Corps. For me, it was, I walked out of the Air Force dejected because I had a speeding ticket. I walked out of the recruiters, and my Marine Corps recruiter was like, I got a job for you. Don't worry about you. I got you. And I'll pay your tickets too.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. That's how we take care of our own. Right. And that's sold me on the brotherhood and all that. Yeah. So, so you mentioned demons being left behind. What demons were left behind for you and your children?
Well, we have struggled as a family, but each kid has addictions is the biggie. But I think if you were to go to the self-help section of the library and pull out any book, my family, my 3 kids and I have lived at least one chapter of every book that you could pull out of that self-help section of the library. We've dealt with everything from substance abuse to marriage problems to financial problems. They've all been diagnosed with various mental health issues, depending on the therapist they're seeing at the time, which is crazy in itself. So we have struggled. I will say it's all 3 kids are now moving in the right direction, and it's been a decade, or over a decade. So we came together like a pack.
So good to hear.
And we're moving forward, but we will always, we will never feel at peace. We know that we will always be in recovery mode, and we just have to hold each other accountable and be there for each other. And that's kind of what brought me into Irreverent Warriors.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is suicide did not solve anything for anybody in that situation.
No, it did not. And one of the things that people don't think about when they're entertaining this thought is the wake of destruction they leave behind. Not just financial is a huge one, because unless you're in order, your finances are in order, that family, they're going to be devastated. So there's always the financial issues. Of course, there's the emotional issues. And then, just to be really raw about things, who's going to clean up that mess? That they don't think about those things. And it's usually your family that walks in, and you don't recover from that.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that in so many cases when a veteran or anyone commits suicide, they have in their brains this idea that they're making an unselfish act happen, that they're saving their family or someone else from having to deal with their problems. And they don't realize, like Cindy was saying, all the backlash of that, the after effects, and just the emotional toll itself. Even if the finances and everything else are in line, that's not something you come back from unscathed. There's trauma there.
Yeah.
There's trauma in, for example, my son, at the time, he was a cross-country skier. He was a tri-state champion, junior Olympic champion. Rand was his coach. When Rand died, he was getting full scholarship offers as a freshman in high school. When Rand died, he hung up his skis. Hasn't put his skis on since. So not only did he not go to college on a scholarship, he ended up going in the Army instead. But
oh man,
yeah, it's
but it
everyone's
totally
life
changed his trajectory.
Yeah, yep. He could have joined Marine Corps. We don't even know.
Yeah.
Nate, when did you know that the Marine Corps was going to be the next phase in your life?
Oh, that's a funny question, actually. So I grew up around.
It's usually funny for the most of us.
I know, right? So I grew up in a very conservative family. Most of my relatives had very respectful of the military, but very few had actually done anything with it. I think a few reservists, but my grandfather, who was a profound impact on my life without me knowing it at the time, I was very young. He served in World War II as a half-track commander. And anytime his service came up, anytime he talked about his service, there was this glowing pride. He didn't share war stories or, I did so many amazing things. It was just this sense of pride that he kind of communicated just with his countenance when he talked about, I served. And it was such an amazing thing. And that was something I wanted to be a part of. I wanted to serve my country and have that sense of pride, having known that I did the thing. So that's where it started. And then I graduated early, went to college, went to dive school, police dive school, and then was a dive master for a recreational dive company for a little bit. And I was like, if I keep this, what's up?
Was this after you got out?
No, way before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I was like, if I keep this up, I am going to be a beach bum. Like, that's what's going to happen, because I love diving. I love the beach. This is amazing. And there was that sense of, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. So I went to this little recruiting station in a strip mall in Baraboo, Wisconsin. And once again, no intelligence on what happens with the recruiting side of things or how the military works. And I was like, they're all in one stop. There was like the Air Force, the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy. And I was like, I'm going to get them all. It was fantastic. So I went down the list.
I'm going to do a tour of each. I'm going to do a tour of each.
I did. So I went down the entire strip mall, walked in one, talked to him for a bit, walked in the other, talked to him for a bit. And long story short, the Marine Corps was the only one that was like, hey, man, we're not going to try to sell you on anything. You're put together. You have college. You know what you want to do for the most part. But if you want to be a part of something special, we got you, boo. But you got to want it. And I was like, you got me. So I went home and I presented all of this to my parents because, that's the way I roll. All right. Air Force does this and Navy does this and Marine Corps does this, the whole time knowing I was going to join the Marine Corps, the whole time.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, my parents looked at me and they said, we trust you, make the right choice for you. So from then on, it was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in the Marine Corps and make it happen.
My recruiter, I made like a matrix of all the 4 services and like a 10-point system. Like I analyzed the crap out of it. And he was like, can I, like, I showed him my paperwork. I was up late at night thinking about like, I had like categories, like who would I want next to me in a foxhole? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm like 18 years old thinking this stuff. And Iraq hasn't even kicked off yet. It was kicked off when I was in the delayed entry program, but he saw this paper and he's like, can I keep this? He was like, I want this. And he still has it to this day. And of course, everything was like a 10 on the Marine Corps side. And
I feel like had I done the graph and chart and cost and benefits and all of that, I may have been swayed even slightly away from the Marine Corps. But yeah, it's a passionate decision. You just do it.
Right. Okay. So how long were you in? I know you got out in 2012.
I did. Yeah. I was in for 5 years total, just barely over 5 years.
Okay. While you were in, give me either a best friend or your greatest mentor.
So I did this thing where I worked with a lot of teams all over the Marine Corps, especially once I got into the mix of things. As soon as I was through A school, joined special projects, I would integrate with a team and deploy and rinse and repeat over and over and over and over. So operations never stopped.
What was your MOS? What'd you do?
2621, intelligence ground warfare.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I thought so too at the time. No, it turned out to be an amazing thing that I didn't even know existed, but it was fantastic. It was a fantastic career. But because of that, I got to be exposed to a lot of different leadership styles in a lot of different services, mostly the special forces community, but some conventional forces as well. And it was just such a mixing bowl. I got such a unique experience in the Marine Corps. But I'm going to say that my first mentor that really impacted me in the Marine Corps was when I had just gotten done with A school and I thought I was hot. I was great. I had everything put together and showed up to my A school and had no idea what I was doing there. I showed up to Fort Meade, Maryland, and for everything I knew, that was where analysts go. Like people sit behind desks, and I was like, that's not why I joined the Marine Corps. This is messed up. So I requested MAST within days of arriving at my duty station. And I have since found out that's a great way to ingratiate yourself with your leadership. It turned out to be fantastic, but it meant I had to carry our 260-pound commanding officer, Major Reed, up and down the obstacle course because that's how we train Marines. So that was a great experience. But my platoon commander at the time was Gunny Scoggins. And he made that first initial major impact in my career. And it was just with investment. Like he would still give you your rasher of what you earned anytime you messed up. But he would explain. He would take a moment to pull you aside and mentor you and teach you. And that little amount of effort, that emphasis on I'm going to invest in you because you matter, suddenly tables turned and I was like, all right, this isn't me having to obey, me having to listen to your mentorship. I want to make you proud. What you're saying makes sense because you're giving me a reason. And I've kind of mirrored that leadership style as much as I can in my life, trying to give people the reason behind what I'm saying.
So why did you decide to get out in 2012?
I didn't really. I did it all the wrong way, honestly. I took a few TBIs during my service, and I was told that if I stayed in, I was going to go strategic and not tactical. And I was not about that. That hurt my feelings in a big way. Pride is a huge thing, turns out. And at the time, hearing you're not good enough, you're too broken. Obviously, this is what I was hearing in my head. You can't do what you want to do anymore. It broke me, and I was like, I can't be a part of the Marine Corps if it's not on my terms. Like I want to do what I love to do. I want to do what I'm passionate about. I'm not going to just sit behind a desk for the rest of my career. So rather than waiting for medical retirement or doing it the right way, I was like, I'm out of here, and charged off into the horizon. And I had to prove something to myself after that. It was, I need to prove to the Marine Corps and everyone around me that I'm still operational. So that's when I went back as a civilian.
You went back and you went to contracting?
Mm-hmm.
Got you. How did that work out? How did,
It's a much different experience. Very, very different. With operational side of contracting, once you're a part of an organization, a bigger thing, it's different. But when you're a part of a civilian operational contractor side of that whole deal, you don't have that same camaraderie. You don't have the same connection. You haven't been through the same training. You can, but it's tough to develop it because in a lot of cases, you don't get integrated into a team and stick with it. You're a standalone capability, and they will plug you in wherever they can use you. So it's really tough to feel that security in your team. And even the fact that in my Marine Corps career, I was plugged into a lot of different units. We had some sort of a semblance of workup, even if it was a few days. And I felt personally like we had a specific goal. I knew why I was out there. I knew why I was invested. And for a lot of that early contractor career, before I went back into the intelligence side of things, I felt like I was just there to earn money. I felt like a mercenary, and I was like, I don't want to die for this guy. I don't even know this guy.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. Okay, so two very unique places in life that you two came from. How did you both find your way? And we'll go with Cindy, and then we'll go Nate. How did you both find your way to Irreverent Warriors and to what you're doing now?
I had heard about Irreverent Warriors back in 2015. And at the time, my son was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington, and Stephanie was at Fort Stewart in Georgia. And I just thought it would be a great idea. In January, there was a hike in Houston, and I live in the Austin area. So I just called the kids and said, let's do this. I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds like a good thing. So I brought the two kids in, and we did our first hike, and we found our community. It was an amazing day. And just the energy of having the two kids together and me being there, and there were so many other people just like us. And so at the end of the day, Stephanie, my daughter, said, we need to do a hike out in Savannah where she was stationed. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's a lot of work. And she's like, yeah, we can do it. And so we did our first hike, and then it was a great hike. And so people were asking me to help them along the East Coastline. And so I started helping with hikes. And then somehow Donnie O'Malley found out what I was doing out there and asked me to come on and take over the hikes nationally for a couple of years.
And you've been doing it ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. How about you, Nate?
So the way it happened for me, one of my friends locally in Fayetteville, North Carolina, said they were trying to get one of the hikes up and going in town. And looking at the externals of the event, I was like, all right, we're doing a ruck march in tiny shorts. Sounds great. I'm in. I knew nothing about the mission. Absolutely nothing. I'd never heard of Irreverent Warriors. I didn't know who Donnie O'Malley was or Vet TV. I was just rolling. I was like, that sounds great. I'd been a part of a lot of. I'm sorry.
Donnie's the one that started this nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning. Gotcha. Very good.
So jumping into that, I just had no idea really what I was in for. But I'd been a part of a lot of nonprofit efforts, and the suicide issue, mental health really in general for veterans and military it weighed very heavily on me. I lost a lot of guys while I was in and a lot of guys when I was out, and just to their own mental health. They lost that battle over and over and over. And I needed to be a part of trying to find a solution. Everything I was a part of up until Irreverent Warriors, it felt like I was doing something. I was making awareness happen, or I was raising funds or something. So I was very invested in that fight. Enter Irreverent Warriors. I was like, all right, that sounds like a cool event. And I helped
Not
coordinate.
knowing that it was part of a veterans to combat veteran suicide or anything.
I knew the basic mission of it, but I didn't really connect the two. I was like, it's another one of the marches. It's another one of, whatever. We're raising awareness. It's fun. My dumb Marine Corps brain was like, hey, we're going to ruck on a Saturday. This sounds great. And I'm going to make everyone else suffer. So I rolled out, a 14.7 mile hike that was, intended to be challenging. And we had a blast. And over the course of that event, it was actually my second hike that I attended was the one that I helped coordinate. And over the course of that event, I just saw the unconventional therapy side happen. People were having fun. It was a great time. I was having a blast, but I was seeing people that didn't know each other 20 steps back pour their souls out to each other. It was all the barriers were down in a way that I hadn't seen before. People would push you toward conventional therapy or clinical therapy. Those are so important, but there needs to be another side of that therapy. There needs to be that brotherhood, that camaraderie you had in the military. And I was seeing that happen in this dumb event that I was helping to coordinate. And it sucked me in. And I kept doing next event and just kind of rolled into a leadership role. I would say, excuse me, by that fall.
No problem. No worries.
All the frogs and stuff. Luckily, you can edit this.
Absolutely.
He's like, I won't though.
I'm so keeping it
in. but yeah, over the course of that event, just watching that happen, people have that conventional therapy where they need it, but they didn't have what I was seeing happen out there. They didn't have that camaraderie, that brotherhood that they had missed. And in my opinion, that is the life-saving power of Irreverent Warriors, is having veterans come together. We don't have to show any magic. Our magic is just getting them together, and then they save each other's lives just by being there for each other. And I was watching that happen on the streets. And so I was sucked in, just kind of rolled into leadership, started helping to coordinate hikes without knowing it. It was very tricky. And then by the end of that year, Cindy had contacted me and she said, hey, you're doing all this stuff. I would like you to roll into a leadership position. And I was like, oh, I'm doing that already. It's fine. And I knew what she was asking, but at the time I was really invested in my contracting career and overtasked. So I was like, I can't do it. I really can't. Yeah. So she kept asking. Right about, I think, December, shortly after she took over as president, she asked one more time. And I'd been invested enough to see the fact that the Irreverent Warriors didn't need me in the wings. They didn't need me in the background. Like, I needed to just stand up and be a leader or not. Like, that was where I could make my biggest impact, was just getting involved. So I said yes, finally. And then turned out that I helped coordinate the first national conference we had. And it's just grown so professionally since.
Now, Irreverent Warriors, they put on silky hikes. Let's just give a broad overview of what we're talking about. Irreverent Warriors puts on silky hikes in order to give what's the mission again? If you've been on a hike, you know it, because everyone talks about it.
Because everyone chants it over and over.
They chant it. Yeah,
it's a good reminder, man. You have to tell people the same thing over and over and over. Eventually, it sticks sometimes. But it's
all right. Go ahead and say it.
Bringing veterans together with humor and camaraderie to improve mental health and prevent veteran suicide. That's our mission statement.
Outstanding. Cindy, in your bio, you said that these hikes were life-changing for you, your daughter, and your son. Nate's kind of alluded to it as well. In what way has it been life-changing?
Well, primarily I saw the difference in my kids. I wasn't a combat vet. I was a peacetime vet a long, long time ago. And, but what I saw my kids go through, and watching the devastation after their dad died, and then both of them serving. When we got there that day, I saw a side of both of them that I hadn't seen. The lights had gone out years ago. And while they were serving and I loved what they were doing in the military, I just never saw that light. And that day I saw it. It was sparked. And and the two of them coming together and just watching the dynamics, I knew that we were going to be okay. I knew we were going to be okay. We weren't alone. They each had connected with so many other people that day, as well as connecting back with each other. I knew that I wasn't afraid of losing them at that point, like I had been the previous few years. So it changed and saved our lives.
Wow. Veteran suicide is always a huge topic here at VA, as always, right? We all know about the 22 a day, 21 a day. We also have a whole podcast on the research to battle veteran suicide. I don't know if you know, either one of you know that. It's the Myrick Short Takes on Suicide Prevention. Have you heard of that podcast?
I have not.
Check that out when you get a chance, because it's all about the research to prevent veteran suicide. And they have a lot of really deep dives into, like, you know, some of the factors that lead into veteran suicide and how to fight them. It's a topic that we broached here on Borne the Battle a couple of times, both with stories of either veterans coming close to committing the act, or veterans looking to help in the fight. Episode, I think, 220, 219, something like that. We had Chad Robichaud, Bellator, Strike Force, MMA fighter, world champion with Legacy FC. When he talked about winning a Strike Force at the Toyota Center in front of 10,000 people, going home that night, that he was deciding that was the night that was the night he decided he was going to take his life. Eventually, he didn't do it, but honestly, really good episode about veteran suicide and how to overcome it. Then there's, I think, episode 212, 213, something around there. These are both Marine veterans, by the way. Marine veteran Aaron Quinones, who again was homeless before and after the Marine Corps, almost committed suicide, and now he's developed an app that it's going through Operation Pop Smoke. I don't know if you've heard it. It's going through some trials, so it can be actually prescribed for people with suicidal ideations, an actual app on your phone. It's like a close-knit buddy app. If you get a chance, take a listen to both of those. I say all that to say this: you're both very involved in group think tanks and gatherings about how to help prevent veteran suicide. You have you're running a whole nonprofit that's kind of based off preventing veteran suicide. Have there been good programs within VA that you've seen in this effort? And what is the community asking for that maybe isn't there yet in VA?
Sure. So I'll take a whack at this one first. So my experience, I think, is probably the best way to tackle this question. So my experience with the VA, when I tend to be a very guarded person. What I go through, I deal with. I'll joke about it. I'll have fun with my very close buddies. I will talk about it. That's about it. So my experience transitioning from the Marine Corps into the civilian world and dealing with the VA system, it was very, very difficult to integrate into that VA system and communicate with people the same way I would communicate with my buddies. Sure. It was difficult to break down that wall. I understood the value in what they were providing, but it was really, really tough to make that connection, same connection I did with my brothers sitting around the fire in Afghanistan, you know, just, oh, that terrible thing happened today. Yeah. Make a dumb joke and roll on.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair for any kind of hospital situation.
I agree.
You know, walking into it's not natural almost for a lot of us.
And we tend to be very abrasive. Like one of the things that we rely on as an organization, we're going to hold to for the rest of the time that I'm involved in this organization, is bringing veterans together means something. It's not about the Irreverent Warriors brand. It's not about, oh, we're better than any other organization. It's not. We are a very, very small part of the solution to all of these health issues. We are part of the puzzle. We need the rest of the veteran community. We need the VA. We need everyone to do their part of their job, or what we're doing is useless. We are introducing veterans back to a network that is going to change their lives, that is going to save their lives. We're giving the people that attend our hikes a reason to care, a reason to go on, a purpose, a reason to live. But if they don't have those resources afterwards, all of that is useless. We can't provide clinical therapy. We're not a pharmacy. Like, we cannot help them take that edge off what they're dealing with psychologically. What we can do is give them a reason to care. We can reintegrate them into a network that will care, that will pluck them up when they're having a bad moment.
Are you seeing anything within the VA that does help in this effort, or is there anything in the community? Is there anything that the community is asking for from the VA that maybe needs to be provided a little bit more?
Yeah, on this, I think it was our Memphis hike. A part of our route took us right by the VA, and the director of the VA actually came out and spoke to us. They'd arranged that ahead of time. He had popsicles for us. It was really cool. It was a hot day. He had popsicles, and normally about that point in the hike, people are pretty rowdy, ready to finish in the day. But when he came out, everyone was quiet. People paid attention. It was crazy. But the impact that he had, because the VA, like, is this big entity that people are either frustrated with or in awe of, but it's bigger than them. And so when this guy came out and
it's a big ship with a tiny rudder.
Well, when that guy came out as the director of that facility, everyone listened, and the information he shared, they actually grasped. Which you could have handed them pamphlets for years. You could have had all kinds of other resources out there for them. But when this man, the head of this VA, came out, took the time to speak to these guys at their level and connected with them emotionally, that was powerful, very powerful, and probably did more for the VA that day with everyone in that group than anything that had been done prior to that.
Yeah.
The human connection.
Exactly.
Out there.
That's part of it. That's that barrier I felt trying to enter that. It was difficult. There was no interpersonal connection. There was no automatic connection from a similar service. And I've had some amazing people I've worked with in the VA, and the people are actually what make the magic happen. And it sounds like a really dumb cliche thing to say, but it's true. The VA as a construct, as a system, like I said, it comes almost as abrasive to a lot of our veterans. They're like, oh, the VA, screw the VA. And a lot of times we're the ones that are like, hey, man, have you ever submitted a claim? Because that would probably help. Like, they're really good at some stuff. They will help.
Yeah.
But I think Cindy nailed it on the head. I think that direct personal connection would change the entire system.
So just that director being aware of the hike and coming out and just being involved in it and just showing that, hey, we support what you guys are trying to do.
Oh, absolutely.
We're supporting the community in this way. Just being aware of it probably did the world for that Memphis VA that day of bringing awareness to what they have to offer. That's good. That's good. It's a really good feedback, and I can't wait till this airs so everyone else can hear that.
Yeah.
I've shared I'd like to say, I've shared my story about the VA on this podcast before. I'm a VA employee, but I walked away from the VA for like 4 years. I gave my own 2 middle fingers and walked away after I had a terrible service the first time. And it's amazing how one person can ruin the reputation of an organization that's 400,000 people employee based, and it's just like the Marine Corps. It's just like the Army. It's just like any other service. It's a huge ship. Tiny. It's just like DoD. It's a huge ship, tiny rudder, hard to turn sometimes, like any other Fortune 500 company. But I will say all that to say this: I think from the time that I walked away in 2014 to the time in 2021, I have seen a difference personally, and I think part of it's probably because I'm an employee there as well. But there's something to be said. So what you're saying is, that veteran, that director of the VA Medical Center in Memphis came out and took part in what you guys were doing, showed his face, showed that he was aware of what you guys were doing and supported it.
Yeah.
So that's really good to hear.
The best way for me to put it, and Cindy's probably really sick of hearing this quote because it's kind of one of my mantras, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's something I've embraced with my life. No matter what position I was in, what leadership position I was in, I wanted to make sure the person that I was trying to guide or mentor or lead understood that I was invested in them personally. Not, I need to take care of whatever you're bringing onto my plate. It was, I want to help you out. And for me, that's that barrier that needs to be torn down. We need our guys to get that interpersonal connection that, hey man, we're here for you. I am here for you, not VA will help you because that's our job. And like, it's tough for veterans to ask for help. Like, we're terrible at it. And honestly, the VA could be a perfect system. And me knowing my friends, my veteran friends, we would still crap all over it for sure. If it was perfect, we'd probably crap on it harder. That's just what we do. But that understanding
like
from the other side of being like, all right, guys, all right, dummies, we love you. And we're invested in you. This is for you.
And most of us, a vast majority of the VA are veterans. It's like, we get it. We're there with you. You know, we're trying to figure this out with you. So the reason I took the job is like, that's what I love about this podcast is that, every 5 episodes we do what's called the benefits breakdown. I go into an office or a program or a benefit within the VA and I shake them and I go, what do you do? How do you help veterans? And how can they be eligible for your services?
Awesome.
So that's one of the things I love doing about this job is that I get to, whatever I learn from the VA, I get to bring out to everyone else. So one thing I do know that the VA probably couldn't pull off, and maybe they could if the right person was there, but it's what you all do. Your bread and butter, these silky hikes. I know from my experience in the DC hike before the pandemic, you guys catch the attention of a lot of Marines on these hikes.
We do. I would say we're much more diverse as far as service is concerned recently than we used to be. But let's think about it. If you were to look at all the services as a whole and then present them an option of, hey guys, Saturday, we can throw on a ruck and silkies and ruck around town a lot of times. Or you can do whatever. Make a choice. The majority of the time, the Marines are going to be the ones that are like, yeah, let's do it. But it's been great. I would say when I started becoming a part of the Irreverent Warriors organization, my first few hikes, I kind of felt that even then it wasn't, hey, this is a Marine Corps effort. It was an us thing, right? But I think just because of how it started with Donnie and his connection to the Marine Corps and his buddies and how that grew, it had a Marine Corps flavor to it. And now, honestly, I'll show up to a hike and I don't know who I'm talking to. I have no idea what service they're from. It's just people are starting to realize it's not about the ruck. It's not about the hike or the silkies. There's something bigger happening here.
Yeah, no, it's the camaraderie that happens before, during, and after the hikes. You see it even afterwards. Guys get together. Hey, let's all go out. And I think the only time I ever really knew what service a person was on these silky hikes was this guy with a huge Navy trident. He had a huge Navy trident and a cape.
Mark.
And I was like, Mark. You know his name. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I was like, okay, that guy's Navy. I could figure that one out.
I think he might have been wearing a cape and a singlet as well at the time.
Yes, it was amazing. And it stood out, and I liked it. I was all about it. I was there for it.
The other thing too about we're Marine heavy for sure, but I think the other thing that's real attractive, and it may be because we're so Marine Corps heavy, is that we aren't that pretty polished look that a lot of the other organizations are. We're not out there with our families, and we're not out there in our, Nike outfits or whatever. We're out there and we're broken and raw. I mean, we are as real as it gets. And that is really attractive. We're not for everybody. We understand that. There's a lot of people just feel like they need to be part of that pretty and polished crowd. But for those that aren't, we're their family. We're home. They're comfortable.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, it stands out when it's a flak and nothing but a flak and silkies and a trident. It's good stuff. So over 250 hikes within the past 5 years, 70 hikes within last year alone, which is very ambitious, might I add. Nate, you're the COO. What are the logistics like to pull that off? And how is that organized? Is it organized?
It's something that we are beginning to professionalize on a whole new level. Over the last 3 years, we've come leaps and bounds from where we were. We were honestly a grassroots movement just a few years ago. And the amount of professionalism that has come on has been amazing. It's been astounding. And the fact that, we make no dollars, really. We really don't. The salary isn't what it's about. And the majority of our organization doesn't make a dime. The fact that they're just invested in the mission and making it happen is fantastic. And honestly, that's what's required. Our job.
So the money that gets donated, most of it is back into these hikes.
It does. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, obviously you're up to 70 in 1 year,
Exactly.
Like you guys just fund another hike. Yeah.
Yep.
What are the logistics like though? Like how does one set up a hike?
So in order to explain the entire hike, like planning structure, we would have to dive into an entire spreadsheet of timetables and specific tasks and POCs. It's roughly 60 to 75 steps long. Everything from creating a city permit, getting insurance, developing that rapport with your local community, developing a hike route, then establishing a connection with the stops, finding a team of volunteers that will also help you plan the event, from social media, volunteers, public relations. It takes an entire team to make these things happen. And it's so involved, down to how many coolers do we have? Do we have enough water? Do we have enough bathrooms on the route? Like, dude, it's a ridiculous process. And the fact that people are doing it just out of their care and passion for the organization is phenomenal. We're talking about a 65-page SOP that we wrote a couple of years ago that we keep evolving, but just so much more goes into it than meets the eye. People look at the event and they're like, oh yeah, neat. You just threw up a Facebook flag and people showed up, huh? Nah, dude, this has been a 9-month process to plan this hike effectively. Our veterans, like us attending these hikes, we have to have everything planned for, because they will not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I noticed it in the bathroom, that even with the bathroom breaks is like, you guys had coordinated places where you guys say like, all right, cool. This is our bathroom break, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh man, this isn't just like this. Like you said, this isn't just a Facebook show up type of thing. You guys actually plan this out. And you talk about developing relationship with communities to make this happen, to make sure the routes are unimpeded. How did you go about doing stuff like that? Developing a relationship with like a local community?
So our mission is so very compelling. It's absolutely amazing. Like if we have our volunteers actually make that interpersonal connection, that face-to-face connection, and share our mission and what it's accomplishing, it's so easy to get support. We live in an amazing country, and they really do back their veterans and military for the most part. And it's a fantastic thing to be a part of on the receiving side. One of the things we've been...
Is it with like local elected officials, through the Chamber of Commerce? How do you guys go about doing stuff like that?
Go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, it's different in every city, but there's two key approaches. One is if you go through the city event process and the special event process and connect that way. If you have connections with law enforcement, that's another really great avenue, because law enforcement will get you into the right places within the city to get that permitting process started. And so once you get, because we aren't conventional, we don't fall under any normal category. We're not a parade. We are a moving element, but we're not a parade. We're not a festival, but we have many festivals along the way. So it's
not a protest.
Not a protest. No, but we have been known to peacefully assemble. We do peacefully assemble. We do not protest.
Outstanding.
Yes.
So it's different. So it's different with every city.
The one thing we require is, like you said, we're not a protest. One thing we require is that our coordinators pass all of the local official checks. If they need a permit, they have to get a permit. If they can't get a permit and they require one legally, you're not doing a hike there, bud. Like, that's just the way it is. So
all that is done through the volunteers at the local level, at
It
each
is
local level. I know. Well, I know you got an enthusiastic Marine out here in DC, Catalina. Her and I served together. She was as a civilian Marine. I was a Marine. You got an enthusiastic one there.
for sure.
All right. So, you had 70 hikes last year, 250 total, within the past 5 years. Where can people find the schedule of like where hikes are when in what city?
Yeah, so our goal is to get hikes close to the people, so they don't have to travel across the country to get to them. If you go to www.irreverentwarriors.com, we have a full event list. Just click on one of the hike cities and it'll take you to Eventbrite so you can register.
Where have you had hikes before? Give me like top 5 cities. I know you've had Jacksonville. I know you've had Camp Pendleton. Do you have them in bigger cities as well?
We do.
And
New York City, DC, Baltimore. We talked about Oceanside, California, Dallas, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Savannah. It goes on and on.
So they're all over the country.
All over. We just had our first one in Jax Beach a few weeks ago, Jacksonville, Florida. That was amazing. They don't disappoint.
Yeah, we also just had a hike in Hawaii. It's the first year in Hawaii. And coming up at the end of June, we have a hike in Puerto Rico.
And we're going to London.
You're going to London?
Yeah. Yep.
Where do you find active duty guys, or is it active duty veterans? Like,
yeah, there are a bunch of active duty and veterans, but also our mission is going international. People are realizing it's not just about American veterans here. And England has its own set of mental health difficulties. So it's a lot of locals too.
So like local veterans from that country.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, hey, there's a lot of expats in Philippines.
Hey, I don't know how many Marines I want to bring to the Philippines, but you are right.
Outstanding. Can each of you tell me one thing that you learned either in the military or from the military community that you carry with you today?
Oh, he's just softballing them now. That's not deep at all. Yeah, tell me one amazing thing the military did.
Pick one.
No. For me, it would be so easy. The easy button for me would be it gave me an opportunity to impact the world on a level that I did not anticipate. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was thinking pretty small level. I was thinking, I'm going to do my job and it's going to be awesome. I didn't think about second and third level impacts. Getting into the intelligence, especially the tactical intelligence community, seeing the impacts of my operations was ridiculous. I loved that aspect of it. So the easy button would be, it gave me a career and it allowed me to be a part of the world on a bigger scale than I ever imagined. I would say the thing that stands out even more than that for me is the experience aspect of it, not career wise, not profession wise. I got to experience life on such a gritty, ridiculous, granular level. So many people enter life and they go about their career and everything is structured. Everything is beautiful. They have a process. I eat breakfast 3 meals a day, go to the gym once, 8 to 5 work hours, and I'm good to go. And I'm not going to say that I couldn't have been in that loop or that that's not someone's definition of happiness. But for me, experiencing being up for 48 hours straight, eating nothing, and being in the most miserable circumstances on the other end of the planet, that gives you a perspective on life that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. That brotherhood and camaraderie that we were talking about, that's a feeling I could not have found in the civilian community. Never would have come across it. And, I could go on and on, but I would say that overall experience of taking life to the next level, understanding the fragility of life for myself, the number of times I almost died, the number of people that I saw die that I cared about. Like, I don't know how people commit suicide personally. I understand they're struggling and it's in the moment. It's just what they feel needs to happen. But for me, seeing so many people go of their own hand, of someone else's, seeing the fragility of life. I don't understand how you could let go of that gift. Be like, I get to go on. I can make an impact. I can change lives. Nah, screw that. It blows my mind. And I don't feel like I would feel the same way as I do about life if I hadn't joined the military.
It's deep, man.
It is deep. How am I going to follow that?
Cindy's going to be like, discipline. I learned discipline.
Yep.
I learned how to organize my shirts.
There you go. Cindy, one thing that you learned in the military that you carry with you today.
Yeah, well, for me, I went in enlisted, and then after a couple of years, I went to the state OCS program, and I learned from my dad, and I learned from that having been enlisted prior to and then becoming an officer, I knew as an officer how to take care of my troops. So when I started a family, I knew as a mom I needed to take care of my family. Started this organization. I'm Mama Bear. I take care of this family. So I put the troops before self, and you can ask Nate and any other leadership. I will go to bat for any hiker that's out there, and I make sure that at every hike, it's part of that 65-page SOP. The troops are fed. The troops are comfortable. The troops have options if there's a problem somewhere. We take care of our element. We take care of our troops. We take care of our own. And so I will. Yeah, I learned, having served under some crappy leaders, how important leadership really is.
You take care of your troops. The mission takes care of itself. That's what I've learned. Absolutely. Is there a veteran, and this is for both of you as well, is there a veteran nonprofit or a veteran in the military community that you've worked with or you've had an experience with whom you like to mention other than Irreverent Warriors?
Well, the Blue Star Mothers of America and Gold Star Mothers of America, they're a DOD authorized veteran service organization. I founded the Central Texas chapter, and I can tell you that when you bring military parents in, especially their mothers, I will also say that these mothers prepared me to work with these Irreverent Warriors. The warriors are far easier to deal with than their mothers. I'll tell you that. I'd much rather deal with these guys any day of the week than deal with their moms, man. But in every state has Blue Star Mother chapters, and so if you are a mother of a service member, even if they've gotten out, because we realize now that a lot of the struggles we have are after our children are out of the service, the reintegration or whatever. So our chapters are not just for women who have children serving, but those who have children that have honorably served in the past as well. So I would encourage your mom, if you're listening to this, if you have a mom, get her involved in a Blue Star Mother chapter. That will roll right into the Gold Star Mother service work that we do, because their Blue Star turns to gold. And, but for the grace of God, it's
many times it does.
Yeah. You never know. It could be our blue could turn to gold in a second. You never know. But every state has multiple chapters, and they're vital. Amazing organization.
I don't have a specific one. I was that entire time Cindy was talking, I was listening, but I was also just kind of racking my brain like, what about this person and that organization and that organization? And one of the things that is so amazing about being a part of Irreverent Warriors is the fact that we get to facilitate connection. We get to help that network occur. So I can't name one, but being a part of our organization, seeing the number of VSOs, and not just VSOs, not necessarily nonprofits, people, entities, companies that are just purely invested in turning the trends that we're dealing with around, it's mind-boggling. We have people that are coming to us with startup businesses. Veterans got out and they're just trying to start their business, and they're, hey man, Can I donate a portion of my proceeds to Irreverent Warriors? I love what you guys are doing. I'm like, dude, you're selling almost nothing. You can't even make a living on what you're doing, and you're donating what you're doing to our mission. That it's something that is so ridiculously powerful. Being a part of the veteran community, you understand there is an unhealthy culture that exists where people are worried about brand. They're worried about fighting over the veteran market, or, you know, I'm selling my shirts to these people. It's there, it exists. But being a part of our organization, the fact that we don't really deal with that, we don't deal with those companies, those entities. We have organizations and businesses that are just invested in veteran mental health on a different level. And at times, talking about those individuals, they're compromising their own just to make sure that hundreds of others have the opportunity to connect to a healthy network.
When you see that, what does it do? I mean, what's your initial reaction when you see something like that?
Oh, it boggles my mind. Like, it was what I was saying to Cindy way back when we started, when I was like, I will help as much as I can. However, I have this career that pays really well. I was making, logic decisions, and that was a great thing for my bank account. But it didn't fuel my soul. This, taking that paycheck and decreasing it by 99%, maybe doesn't make sense with the bank account, but this is my passion. This fuels my soul. And yet still, I see that passion in other people. I see other people that work 60 hours in a week. They're dog tired, and they jump in their car, load their ruck up. They've been to 70 hikes. They don't need that hike. They have that connection. They have the network, and they get done with their workday, throw their ruck in their car, and drive 8 hours to a hike, show up in the wee hours of the morning to help people set up for the event, and ruck the entire day. Not like, oh, I'm here and I'm suffering. Like lifting people up, pulling them out of their trenches, and just being there for them. It boggles my mind, because logically I'm like, you're dumb. What are you doing? But my heart, my passion, I'm like, yeah, bro, I get it.
You feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it. Cause there's something to be said about doing something that's bigger than yourself. And I think that's what kind of what you're speaking to. I was the same way, man. I was at NASCAR before this, and it was a great gig, sports media, cool stuff, cars turning left. Great to see your work on TV.
17 jokes, just like click, 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 click.
Yeah. It's just all there. But
he's like, I heard him.
But coming back to I was like, I'm never going back to the federal government. Like, that was like when I left the Marine Corps, I was like, I am so done with the government. I'm so done. And here I am. Why? Because it's that, like what you're saying, doing something bigger than something for yourself. And I think there's something to be said for that. And I think you're seeing it out on those hikes. Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground. Cindy, Nate, is there anything that I may have missed or haven't asked that you think is important to share with anybody that's listening or watching this right now?
I would say my last statement is kind of piggybacks off what we were just talking about a little bit, but it's the fact that this isn't easy. What we're doing is not simple. It's as complicated as it can be, especially an organization like Irreverent Warriors. Like, we're trying to walk a line between professionalism, open, unconventional therapy, and like it's very, very tough. Yeah. Not to mention, it takes an emotional toll. When the more you open yourself up to a mission like this, the more you invest in it, the more your emotions are involved. Every single loss, every single obstacle, everything you run into takes a toll on you emotionally. Not talking about just the physical toll. Like, our organization is volunteer based. These people are taxing themselves to the max in many cases just to make the wheels turn on this bus. But then on top of that, you add the emotional strain of opening yourself up to care about people that in some cases don't even care about themselves. It's difficult. This is hard work. And I am just so blessed to work with the amazing, amazing teams and volunteers that we do in this organization. And I'm not saying that because it's obligatory or anything. I'm absolutely floored by their heart and their passion for this mission.
For most of us, when you join the military, it's a calling. It's not necessarily a job. And it's because you have a servant's heart and you want to serve. And even after you've served your time, the time that you're committed to serve, when you come out, it's one of the other things that brings you peace is that you have a servant's heart. So you need to continue to serve. So our leadership are amazing. They sacrifice so much. Again, like they said, all along, they're all volunteers. I think one of the things the only thing we haven't covered today about the hikes is that the hiking element itself is veterans and active duty reservists and guard members only. There's no civilians in the actual element. It is your safe place. So while you may feel safe walking with a civilian or your spouse or whatever, somebody else may not be. And anything that inhibits that safe place, we just don't bring it in. No, we love our civilians. In fact, we need them desperately to help our support element and to be at the stops. But that actual hike element itself, there are no civilians in that element. So it is our safe place.
Interesting. I didn't know that. For anybody that, and either one of you can go on this one. For someone that's listening to this right now, and do you have like a parting shot for them? Anything you want to leave them with?
I always have parting shots. I mean, come on.
I count on that.
I would say broad strokes. What Cindy was just saying was your support does matter. Like, sure, these elements are very, very closed for a reason. We want to develop, cultivate, maintain an environment of unconventional therapy. We want you to be able to throw your arm over someone's shoulder and just gut your life to them. Hey, man, this is all my darkness, so that you don't have to hold it in, so that you have somebody else in the trench with you. We want that environment to be maintained. But like Cindy said, that community support is everything. Having our veterans know somebody cares is the reason why Irreverent Warriors saves lives. And that doesn't stop at veteran to veteran connection. So if you're listening to this and you're not a veteran, please let them know. And I'm not saying thank you for your service. Like they get that enough. Show them, whether it's supporting Irreverent Warriors or some other VSO, encouraging them to go get the help that they need, giving them some extra encouragement or support on a dark day. This doesn't stop at the veteran community. It will take the entire veteran community to come together if we're going to reverse the trends of mental health and suicide that are plaguing our veteran and military cultures. It's going to take us all, like the VA, us, everyone has to come together. But we also need support from our significant others, from our loved ones, from the community. That's something that is desperately needed, both by the veterans and by our organization. So if you're listening to this and you're not a veteran, you're not left out. In many cases, you're the reason why we raised our hand, the reason we walked down range, the reason why it was important enough to throw ourselves into the line of fire, because we wanted to protect what we have, you guys. So, yeah, we need you. We need your support.
Very good. And for those and most of my listeners are veterans. For those people, what would you say to them? Come on out.
Mama, you're up.
No, absolutely. You don't have to wear silkies. You don't have to carry weight. You don't have to wear boots. Just show up.
So one of my early experiences with Irreverent Warriors, I was trying to convince one of my buddies to go. I knew he was a recluse, and I'm saying that on purpose. I know it's probably an obnoxious way to say somebody was isolating, but he was devastating himself with himself. He was by himself. And I tried, hey man, let's go to this event together, over and over and over. Didn't work. I grabbed him for a dinner with another veteran, just kind of another strategy. And he spent one night hanging out with a couple other veterans, and it clicked for him. And he's been invested in not just Irreverent Warriors, but the veteran community ever since. So what I'm saying is, it is intimidating. I get that. Like, especially if you're showing up by yourself, like no friends, just walking up. but I promise it won't be intimidating for long. You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people that are just being raw and emotional and care more than anything you could possibly imagine. Just do it, man. Whether it's showing up to a Silkies hike or going and showing up for that first Veterans Affairs appointment, whether it's, getting to the gym, just do it. Make those healthy steps one at a time if you need to, no matter how daunting it appears. We need you.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Cindy, Nate, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming on Borne the Battle, and we're out. We're out. See you guys later.
We gotta get them one way or the other. Machine gunner, fight bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplified till we die, another campaign. My desk is a rock where the drug lords cut up millions. My pen is a 7.62 round that'll cut them down in an instant. Point, click, pull the trigger to the tune of falling brass. Full benefits and a purple heart and a Russian-made bullet in my bag. Raining down lead, punching that clock. Get 'em boys, I'm laying down cover. Machine gunner, fight bullets fly, day and night rain. Simplified, do or die, another campaign. Here we go, lock and load, 0331. Lug 1,000 rounds, and I ain't bringing back one.